Welcome back to It Resolves, where we play a new deck every single day. Today's deck is Abzan Greasefang. Welcome back, everybody, to another standard gameplay video. I am officially back. It's great to be back. I have missed you guys this week. Unfortunately, like I said, I was out for the majority due to some work stuff of this week, so I really wasn't able to catch up on comments or anything like that. I'm going to try and do that as I'm away, but if I didn't, I apologize. I hopefully will. But regardless, I wanted to try something out today. Yesterday, we actually jumped into an Explorer deck that was featuring Greasefang. In fact, it was the Mardu version of the list. It was the Tier 1 version. If you don't know how this card works, I'll have it up here for you. But basically, it reanimates vehicles from your graveyard, and then they get bounced back to your hand. That's a really cool ability, in my opinion, and so I wanted to see if we could make this work in Standard, and to kind of test this out, we're going to be utilizing Hello Good Games version of the deck, which is an Abzan version with a Seeka's Chariot and Mysterious Limousine at the helm. The Limousine, for anybody that doesn't know, I think most people know the Chariot. Maybe you know the Limousine, maybe you haven't played with it yet, which I know I haven't. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to one other target creature until it leaves the battlefield. If a creature is put into exile this way, return each other card exiled with the Limousine to the battlefield under its owner's control, which is kind of an interesting ability. I haven't really tested with it, so we're going to be learning a little bit together on that one. But the rest of the deck is focused heavily on a little bit of self-mill, and then of course crewing the vehicles. Now to crew, we've got the Hotshot mechanic. We do also have Born to Drive, which we can channel out, which will certainly help us as well. And we of course have the token off of Sorin the Mirthless that we can utilize and then hopefully copy with the Seeka's Chariot. For the self-mill side of things, we do have of course Witherbloom Command, a phenomenal option for this deck. And then, of course, we do have Teachings of the Kirin, which mills 3 cards and throws a token out. So, again, just a lot of synergy to the deck. Additionally, we do have Tamiyo's Safekeeping just for a little bit of protection, and importantly for the Greasefang, I think, most of all. And then, of course, our very, very substantial land package that I'm not going to take time to go through. But all that to say, I'm really intrigued to see how this goes. I have not tested. We are going to jump in completely blind to this one. I normally don't do that, but I'm going to do it today, just because I'm interested to see how this one works out. Obviously, it's not going to compare to the Explorer version. Yesterday's deck did go undefeated for 3 games, which was great, and I'm not saying this won't, but it doesn't have the powerhouse like Parhelion play or the Sky Sovereign play that we get to see in Explorer. So this is going to be different. It's going to be a little bit slower, but I do think there's a lot to this deck, and I'm really curious to see how it works out, and so we're going to learn together. We're going to have some fun. Hopefully you guys have had a fantastic week. Hopefully we get to end it on a high note. Let's see what we can do today. Alright guys, and here we are for game number 1. I think we can probably keep this, although the double deadly dispute is really not great. We do have the Greasefang, which is nice, and we do of course just have the Witherbloom Command, which truthfully is just nice on its own because, again, it does help mill us a little bit. It can also potentially deal with something on the opponent's side. We'll see. Looks like double Witherbloom Command. I actually will just go ahead and fire this off because, importantly, we actually really want to get a vehicle into our graveyard this turn so we can get the Greasefang going. Obviously, we didn't that turn. That's okay. We did get a land, though, which is helpful. I'm assuming Boros. Yeah, there it is. All right. Don't love that, of course, but that's fine. Alright, well, what's the move here? We can continue the mill game. Alternatively, we could just wait and utilize the Seat of the Empire, which doesn't actually seem all that bad. I think I might do that. I don't generally love that play, but I think it actually will be quite helpful. Interesting. Alright, so let's definitely go ahead and do this, get that out of there. I'm very glad we went for that play then. That turned out to be quite helpful. Here, I think what we're going to end up doing is just go this route. Just to get this on the battlefield. Again, I know we don't really have anything to bring back with it, which is a little frustrating. But we can actually bring it back with something else potentially. So let's see. Destroy target non-land, mills 3 cards. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Nice. All right. Well, good news here is they did not go for killing the Greasefang, which is kind of surprising, actually. Very surprising, in fact. They did... Interesting. Okay. Let's definitely... First and foremost, let's definitely play the black source here. This does give us the option, of course, of deadly disputing at instant speed and whenever we need to. Unfortunately, still did not get anywhere. All right, but we do get the Seat of the Empire back. Now the question is, do we attack? I'm actually going to. I know this is a little sketchy, but we're actually on the front foot against this deck, which is very surprising. So I'm going to take the opportunity to attack in. Surely they will be able to get a very solid attack in here, but I think we are going to do the best we can here. We got this. Let's see where they place the counter. I'm assuming there. Okay. Interesting. All right. Nice. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna just make sure we get this off the board now. That Reckless Stormseeker is certainly one that we do not want to have to deal with for very long. Wow, just all the Greasefangs. Okay, with that in mind, we're gonna attack. We are going to go ahead and preemptively sacrifice this. Whoops, there we go. Which I know is a bit weird, but we kind of just need to get some more stuff going. So unfortunately, there's not a huge better option. And I think what we're gonna do is keep this around with the Tamiyo's safekeeping. So no matter what the opponent has here to deal with the Greasefang, we should be able to handle it, gain some life back in the process as well, and then potentially just stave off an easy attack. Or maybe even just preemptively kind of trade with something on the opponent's side here. And it looks like that might be the case. We'll see what they actually go for. Okay. They're gonna put one here, and they're gonna put one there. That's fine. So basically they're trying to present multiple lethal threats, or not lethal, but definitely larger threats, which makes sense. Let's make sure we go into full control mode here, just to be safe. Let's do this. And then let's go ahead and I'm gonna actually utilize this now. Honestly, we could just trade off and it not really matter. But I think I'd rather keep it around so we can get the attack in this upcoming turn and present lethal. Interesting. Okay. So I think I'd rather just do this. So this is gonna get one of these off the field, which is obviously quite nice. I think it's just the Aspirant, to be honest. And then here, let's see, they're gonna have 5 damage potentially. Okay, they're gonna hit us for 2. Does that make us second guess? They scryed to the top. So then in that case, yes, we just can't do anything. So here's the trick. If we were to attack and they had basically another Play with Fire or any like 2 damage burn spell, we would have been in really terrible shape. And so I'm actually okay with just letting this be the case. Okay. Better option would have potentially been just letting the Limousine be the blocker. But I think we definitely had to block there. And it definitely had to be the Hopeful Initiate also. Wow, okay, do they just have a Play with Fire? Yep, they have a Royal Eruption. All right, hey, fair enough. It's a burn deck, right? So I'm okay with that. I actually think we had a reasonable game plan and a reasonable fight on our hands. But, you know, burn is burn. They got us there. Fair enough. Let's move into game number 2. Check out this month's Patreon rewards celebrating our return to Dominaria. If you want to pick these up, feel free to visit our Patreon at patreon.com/itresolves. All right, guys, here we are for game number 2, and how do we feel about this hand? I think okay, not great, is kind of where I'm at. We have no white mana, which of course I don't love, but we do have the Teachings, which I think is potentially good. And then of course we do just have a Seeker's Chariot here at some point, and we can actually just blow that up if we want. I'm definitely gonna go this route. Just have something on the board. It looks like we're definitely going to be up against another kind of burn style deck. And so I think I'd just rather get stuff down at this point. We have a Snarl. Okay, interesting. Didn't necessarily expect that. Love it, but didn't expect it. Obviously getting a counter there is something. The question is, do we just kill this before it can do anything? Don't love this, I'll be honest. Really don't love this. I think we end up having to play this out and passing. So worth noting, we can do this even after this flips because it is still an enchantment. So that's kind of okay. Sure. Ledger Shredder is great. All right. But yeah, so what this does allow is for us to safekeeping this, just to keep it around. But we're definitely not in good shape here. We do have Indestructible on this, so even if they attack with the Etching, we can probably just trade off here. So that's helpful. This is definitely a tricky place. I don't even know if this is worth saving, I'll be honest. But I do feel like having some stuff on the board is probably pretty important right now. Interesting, they got rid of a gold span. That's a pretty big tell. That was a weird attack. That shouldn't have been the case. Yeah, I think that was definitely an oops. Very interesting. All right, well, unfortunately, we can't really, so what we can, this is the best thing we can do. We can play here, we have to keep this one, and now we can play these. It's a really unfortunate place to be, to have to do that. Obviously, normally you play only one of these legendary lands, so when you do double up like that, you kind of have to play around and tap one, then play the second. Kind of sucks because obviously that leaves us in a really sticky position this turn. And I think chances are we're not really going to be able to do too much this game. I think they definitely kind of have us here. Just based on the flying support that they have, I mean, you know, that's a perfectly reasonable thing. They just have a lot of power in the air, so that's fine. Discarding Chandra, dress to kill a land and a burn down the house. Interesting. Burn down the house is a tricky one for me to discard a lot of the time for multiple reasons, but chief among which, obviously, it's just a good like get out of jail free card in the sense that if you needed to sweep the board, it obviously gives you, you know, an out to doing that. But on top of that, it's also just like a really good way to end the game for various reasons. So I don't know, that's kind of interesting. All right. How do we want to do this? I'm trying to think what the best out is, and I don't know that there really is one. So we can do this on the Kieran, just to get the attack in. Exile target creature from a graveyard. I mean, the trick is, like, none of this is all that great given the board presence. You know what I mean? I think I do attack with all of it, though. Let's copy the cat. We'll get rid of the gold span. Creates another token, which does help here. I mean, that's a big swing, but I don't think it's going to be enough. They've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. It's a tricky place to be. Like, this is a situation where them having the burn down the house would leave them with a ledger shredder and then just nothing on our side, I guess. Except, I guess, the Asika's Chariot. Yeah, I think that does it, though, right? 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So that's enough to kill us. They just had double strike. I mean, you know, you can't be too upset. It is what it is. Let's move on to game 3. All right, guys, here we are for game number 3. This looks a little stronger in the sense that we actually have some lands. And we do have 2 teachings, so we might be able to dig our way into the Greasefang. That is worth noting that we have not really pulled off the Greasefang play yet. And again, I don't know that this has to be as dedicated a Greasefang deck. I think it certainly capitalizes on it. But I think the nice thing about this version of the deck is that it's not just built on that. It's got a little bit more to it, and that all of the vehicles are certainly playable options just throughout the game. And so it's really not that big of a problem, I would say, which is fine. Okay, gonna assume Doomscar. Might be wrong, but gonna assume not. All right, so first things first, we'll just get a little attack in here. And I think I'm actually gonna set up for the next turn a little bit and doing this. Do I like this? I think I will. I'm not sold on it. Normally I'd like to save the Witherbloom command a little bit, but I actually want to save it. We don't have a follow-up land, so it's actually kind of important that we get that follow-up land, and that's why I'm actually Witherbloom commanding versus just using the teachings. Again, not 100% sold on that, but just kind of the option that I felt important to go for. Okay, so here we want to have the double green more than anything else, I believe. So we're gonna go this route. Let's go ahead and attack in. We'll see if they have anything they could very easily. Looks like not. We'll go ahead and teachings once more. Okay. Nothing too great there. I am gonna hold off on the other teachings. Again, I'm not interested in just throwing that out. Yep, there that is. That makes sense. That's why we did this. We're gonna keep that around. I feel like having the Kieran around here is actually quite important. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but it just gives us options, which, hey, I like options. Right? Let's see. All right, so definitely just gonna attack in. Whoops, I was totally checking the graveyard and didn't even think to, okay. View browser. Let's get one of these out of there. Excellent. Get in for the attack. I think I go this route. I'm not positive. As always, that seems to be a common thread with this deck. But they don't really have a target. They're also stuck on lands, which, okay, no, they're not. They were stuck on lands, which was actually quite helpful. But this is great. They've got a creature now for us to hit here, so that's phenomenal. Just gonna put it here. Get another one of those. I will go ahead and throw this out. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this down. We're gonna get the token off the field, which incidentally is like one of the best potential targets because it can't come back. I think it's just this. I think we just kind of want to go wide. It doesn't look like they had another sleeper. I don't know if they would have gone for it there or not, but I feel like that's okay. We'll see. Worst case scenario, if they do sweep, we actually do still have the Kieran coming down. Obviously we can't attack with it, but certainly a help. All right, and there we go. We actually finally got a win. That was interesting. Man, what a fascinating deck. I hesitate to call it a Greasefang deck, but obviously that was kind of the core of it. I might change that up, but we'll talk about this deck really quick. All right, so first and foremost, again, hello, Good Game. Thank you so much, my friend, for sharing this list over on AetherHub. I do like to credit those who created the deck, and obviously he did. So if you don't know who he is, which you should, definitely go check him out. He'll be linked down below. But what do we think of this deck? Well, as I mentioned before, this deck is not going to be as powerful as the Explorer version of the list. That is plainly obvious, I think, just based on the card pool, but I feel like, you know, kind of the need to state that. On top of that, I would also suggest that the Greasefang package is much less at the forefront of this list, given that you can just play out a lot of the vehicles that are in the deck. And so I don't know if it's a necessary piece to the puzzle. I would almost rather just have ways to, you know, sweep the board or deal with flyers or something like that in the deck versus having the Greasefang play. Now, again, that might just be because of in this small subset of games, we really didn't get to see it. And maybe it's a powerhouse play to win the game. Certainly would be helpful in a number of fashions, but in general, I don't think it's going to be as game winning, of course. And so in that sense, I'd almost just rather have a good deck that happens to run some of these powerful vehicles. Now, again, all that to say, Hello Good Game obviously made a really great choice on his cards in this deck, and I think it shows. I think that last game was a prime example of what we were trying to do, even despite not seeing the Greasefang play. But regardless, it was a blast to play this. It's a nice new kind of deck. I haven't seen this in Standard. I haven't been against it in Standard. I've certainly seen Greasefang decks, of course, but not this version. This was, I don't know, it felt a little different. And for me, I think that's going to be something I'm sort of chasing in the month of August up until rotation, is finding some of these different decks, stuff that we haven't necessarily just seen an overabundance of. You know, I'm tired of the Boros aggro, the mono white, the Esper Raffines, all these decks that we see all the time. I want to see some new stuff. With that in mind, I encourage you guys, if you have a deck that you would love to see on video on the channel, go ahead and send it to us. We've been testing out a lot of the community decks, and it's an absolute blast. I want to thank each and every one of you guys who has shared a deck with us, because it's been a blast to try those out. And so please do, if you've got a standard deck or an explorer deck, but keep in mind we've only got one of those a week, please do send them to us. We would love to see what you guys have. You can do that in Discord or just DM me, wherever. Doesn't really matter. Just send me a link. But guys, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you watching. I hope you had a great week. It's phenomenal to be back. I love you guys very much. I'll see you guys tomorrow.